Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Yasin, and today we're going to be going over the best decks that you can play post Justice Hunters. So there's 35 decks right here, and we're going to be rating them through 5 categories. So the best decks, the top tier contenders, the great options, the rogue decks, and the decks that are overall not worth it. But yeah, before we go any further, as always, you know the drill. Smash the like and subscribe button. Check out my new Justice Hunter spreadsheet on my website, yacineygo.com. Very first link at the top of the description box below. Really recommend checking it out. And also shout out to my sponsors, Supreme Pro at tsx1.com. Again, link in the description. But yeah, let's get right into it. So the first deck that we'll be covering is going to be Pyramid Tsurugi. I do think this is a top tier contender just because it plays Dominus Impulse, and Murakumo is better than ever. It's an extremely broken card against Yummy. If you hold it for like the battle phase, destroy every monster, it's really hard to lose, honestly. And the fact that it's almost impossible not to get access to it because you have so many ways of just at least making some good half boards in this deck. You're not trying to do too much, so hand traps aren't really great against you, and that's the cool thing about this deck. So it's a very simple deck. It plays a lot of non-engine. I think it's great in a format that is not like degenerate, but in like last format, for example, I think it paled in comparison with Reizou Mitsurugi. But now things are changing a little bit, and now Dominus Impulse is like much better. It's a great card into the new Justice Hunters deck, even though the card was always good. Now it went from extremely good to like extremely gooder, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So yeah, Pyramid Tsurugi I think is a great deck to play right now. Dragon Maid I think is rogue. It just doesn't really have like a great appeal to it. It's not like a deck that would consider like to be not worth playing whatsoever, but honestly, you might as well just play like the Dragon Tail cards with this or something. Make it have a little more explosiveness and synergy, because pure Dragon Maid, to me at the very least, it just doesn't feel, you know, it just doesn't feel it like at the crit moment. But yeah, pure K9, and yes, this is pure K9, even though it features like the artwork of a card that's not even played in the deck. It's just that I wanted to like differentiate from like the other K9 decks that I'm playing. But I mean, that I'm showcasing here. But yeah, Pure K9 I think is like an okay-ish deck. It doesn't really have like enough juice at the crit moment. There's no normal summons, so I think that's like one big turn off for me. But it does have the ability to like Mjolnir and lock the opponent, which is completely disgusting. And because of that, I'm at least gonna put it in great option. But just because it relies way too much on normal summons, on hand traps, and it doesn't really have like a great normal summon, which is like one of the best, you know, summoning mechanics in the game, it can't really be a top tier contender right now. However, I am willing to like change my mind once we get Doom of Dimensions and when the K904 Noroi will come out. It's a great card. It's very fantastic. Anyways, this is the Jirak deck. It's just another rogue deck, honestly. Like, yeah, sure, it destroys the board multiple times, which is great against Yummy. It's fantastic. But I mean, that's pretty much it, right? It's not really good against anything else, and it doesn't really make other kinds of disruptions for the most part. I mean, it does, but like, you destroy your own disruptions when you're breaking like your own board with like the meteor and stuff. So I don't know, it's a really awkward deck to play, and you honestly just unlimit Miscellaneous Horus at this point. You might as well. Anyways, the Mermail deck is also a great option. I would love to put it in top tier contender, but yeah, there's a lot of Perilias, a lot of Fuas, a lot of Trolls still because of the existence of Reizou Mitsurugi. So this deck does feel like it suffers a little bit of collateral damage, and also it uses a lot of effects in the hand and graveyard. So the turn 0 Izunas, they're pretty much always going to be live, unfortunately. The True Draco deck, I think, is just overall not worth it. It doesn't really have any appeal whatsoever. It doesn't really play the ability, I mean, it doesn't have the ability to play hand traps unlike these decks at the very least. The Blue Eyes deck, I think it's like at the very bottom, a great option, or like a very top of Rogue. This deck just also doesn't really feel like it has like an edge over anything, like except from the fact that against Obedience Schooled, it's pretty good because Blue Eye Spirit Dragon will shut it down. It's also good against like Joe Cool. You can't, you know, summon Joe Cool and another monster at the same time. But I feel like that's the only real appeal to it. Like, it's a deck that plays Effect Veiler incredibly well, but Effect Veiler is also not a great card. It's a deck that needs hand traps to break boards going second, because its engine does not break boards whatsoever. So if it doesn't hand trap the opponent like 2 to 3 times, it feels like it loses most of the time going second. That also going first, you can brick, you can draw, I mean, you can draw terrible cards in your hand and feel like you're hand looping yourself for 2 cards before your turn even started. And then also you get hand trapped by your opponent, and it hurts still. And also the deck loses to board breakers. Like, again, it doesn't feel like it has like a massive edge, and it doesn't feel like if you go first with Blue Eyes you win. Whereas with Mermail, on the other hand, if you go first, you can't really lose. And a deck like K9 that has space for so many non-engine, that it's really easy for me to justify it being a great option. Now again, I will be reiterating the fact that every deck in this tier list video is, in my eyes, at least a solid deck, but just not necessarily like a great deck, for example. And is the Monarch deck, I think, is anywhere between like the bottom of Rogue to like the very top of not worth it. But I think it's actually better than True Draco. If you go first, I mean, you can make unbreakable boards that are like on the same level as like the Morganite stun deck. which I mean is an FTK. You know, if you summon like a fiend, like Vanity's Fiend, Majesty's Fiend, or like if you start hand looping your opponent and then you go for like Domain of the Monarchs, whatever. No deck realistically is beating this. I mean, yes, some of them are, like Mitsurugi, for example, can beat, you know, Domain of the Monarch super easily because you don't really need your extra deck too much to have access to like a Murakumo that can destroy everything and also run over anything because it has 3-2. It's a big boy. But I mean, it just feels like a one-trick pony, and going second, this deck is utter garbage. It's not good at all. It's like it doesn't really have space for a lot of non-engine. So imagine losing the dice roll against Malice. It's your main win condition is praying to God that your opponent bricks. And speaking of which, Malice is going to be in the best deck section, and spoiler alert, it is going to be very, very high on this tier list. So it's actually funny how last format, I believe that Malice was the second best deck behind Razul Mitsurugi, but I will change my mind for this format very specifically, just because with the introduction of the new Justice Huntress decks, a lot of there's now like turn 0 Izunas and stuff like that, and this deck doesn't care about that because, you know, you only start losing to Izuna when you use the in-hand effect of your Administer monsters, which by the time it happens, it's very late into your combo and you care very little about Izuna at this point. So it's great against like one of the most popular hand traps in the format. There's like way more decks now, so there's going to be less Molchimi Meows, which is great for you. Obviously, there's no more Chaos Hunters, so that's also great for you. And some people are even kind of considering cutting Lancia, which is delusional. There's no way you can do that because Malice will wipe the floor with you. But yeah, I just feel like this deck has like a very favorable matchup against Yummy and even like Vanquish Soul and stuff like that to some degree. And also, some decks are actually on a board breaker approach now, or at least like on a hybrid version of hand traps and board breakers. And Malice really thrives off of that because they don't really lose the board breakers all too much because they are super, super layered. You know, they're setting trap cards, they're searching hand traps, they're drawing cards. They have stuff in the graveyard, stuff in the banish that they can access, stuff from basically everywhere. So Malice doesn't really have like a, you know, an issue with people playing Dark Ruler, Droplet, Evenly, stuff like that. Doesn't care at all. So I think Malice is like very well positioned in a format where people are not playing enough hand traps to counter it. And yeah, I mean, if you don't have like multiple hand traps for this deck, it's pretty much a wrap. The White Forest deck I think is not good. It's better than Blue Eyes just because, I mean, if you go first and you go uninterrupted, or if your opponent doesn't have like the right hand traps, then you win. But yeah, I mean, a lot of hand traps can be turn skips against this deck. Like Ash on your Stellar in hand. Is it a Stellar or LZ? Yeah, it's LZ, right? Yeah, it's LZ. That can be a turn skip, and yeah, it's just a little sad sometimes. The Despia deck, I mean, I can't really rate it too high, except if we're talking about like Despia Dragon Tail. I would actually put it in this section, maybe here. Well, first of all, it's a new deck, so, you know, that's already a good thing about the deck, the fact that you can catch people off guard. And second, you know, Branded Fusion is still a broken card. Now, obviously, like, when you can send, like, anything, basically, from the deck, well, granted, one of the materials is Fallen Valbaz. The second one can be, like, a Dragon Tail Mululu, and then you can also get, like, Advantage, negate a monster effect. It's really good against, like, Razul Detonator. Yeah, I mean, it's a card that is, like, universally good going first and second, and if Branded Fusion was a 3, I would have, like, a much higher opinion of the Despia deck, but only being a 1 of, that's a little unfortunate, because it means that, like, your main way of accessing it is, like, with Branded Opening and Aluber, which is not really good in a deck that already plays 6 normal summons, so that's a little disappointing to me. Fire King, yeah, that's kind of a rogue deck. It relies way too much on hand traps and is also, like, way too fair. You can go first and lose. It's kind of similar to Blue Eyes, honestly. There's not a really big gap between Blue Eyes and Fire King, to me at least. The Necros deck is, like, on the same league as all these decks. It came out pretty much at the same time and nobody really cared too much. Mathmech, not worth it. Doesn't really have any edge whatsoever, and it hasn't really seen play ever since Circular got unbanned. Because the deck is not at full power, right? You need 3 Circular and Link Decoder for that, and to be fair, I don't really think that's gonna happen anytime soon. Anyways, the Lunalight deck is probably the very best great option deck that you can play, or maybe like one of the worst top tier contenders, and I actually do think that Lunalight is quite good. So just for the sake of this video, just to be as like strict and mean as possible, I'm actually gonna keep it there. Just because there's a lot of like other decks that are very powerful that are probably going to go to these two sections. But the thing about Lunalight is that it has a very tough time against Archimedes Protoss, which is still a thing right now. And it doesn't really have the ability to play like a huge amount of hand traps. So unfortunately going second against like those stun decks, I mean, not really, those hardcore combo decks that just like Turbo Out Floodgates, you will die. You will die pretty much all the time. And that's really frustrating. However, I will say that this deck can play Dominus Impulse, which is great, and obviously it can play Heavy Polymerization as well as Triple Tactic Thrust pretty much better than anyone else, because when you resolve Thrust, you search Exodia, you search Heavy Poly, just like Yummy, how they can search, you know, I mean, oh, by the way, I just realized there's no Yummy in this tier list because I forgot. But whatever, I mean, it's going to be very easy for me to, like, adjust whatever. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said, Yummy can thrust into Obedience Cooled, which is kind of like the same feeling in a way. You know, you get one spell that just gets everything started for you. Anyways, the Fiendsmith deck, it's probably going to be a great option. It's very similar to, like, K9. It's just like a mid-range engine that is good, but it's not, like, super amazing. It plays a lot of hand traps. Like, this is Bestial Fiendsmith or Primite Fiendsmith. Anything with, like, a lot of hand traps and the Fiendsmith engine overall. It's never going to be like a rogue deck, obviously. It's always going to be like a good deck that you can play, that you can top a YCS with, potentially, but you're never going to win an event with a mid-range deck like Fiendsmith something, unless it's like a combo version of it. Dragon Ruler is not worth it. It's very combo-y, and if you want to play a combo deck, there's like so many better options. It's also not great going second because not enough non-engine space. Cyber Dragon K9 is actually a rogue deck. I think I'm probably going to keep it there. It's kind of like an okay position for it. It's not great, honestly. It doesn't play, I mean, it can play some hand traps, which is fine, and it does have some really explosive combos. It can play Clockwork Knight, the spell card that is, like, broken against Yummy, but, I mean, that's pretty much, like, where the edge ends, honestly. It's a little disappointing. I don't know, this deck plays a huge amount of bricks, and I'm not really a big fan. Anyways, the Orcust deck. So there's Orcust Fiendsmith, Orcust Mitsurugi. It's pretty good. I think this deck is great, even though it won the NEWCQ. I don't really think it's like anywhere close to like the best deck, but it's definitely respectable. I'm gonna acknowledge that. The Armija deck is also a rogue deck. Gotta put it there, honestly. Yubel, it's probably the best rogue deck that you can play because at least if you go first, you kind of just FTK the crap out of your opponent. And if your opponent plays like semi-hand traps, semi-board breakers, you can make like very layered boards to the point where it doesn't really bother you too much. But it can still be annoying, honestly. So I don't know. Sky Striker is another great option. I think it has like a actually decent matchup against Vanquish Soul, ironically out of everything. And it has an okay matchup against Yummy as well. It's not bad at all. It can break all kinds of boards. It doesn't really play hand traps, it plays board breakers instead. So the Malice matchup I think is horrendous, like actually abysmal. It loses really hard to Mitsurugi. Like super, super hard because they were searching a Kaiju and then they Kaiju you. And then, yeah, you just die, right? Oh, hold on a second. Actually, that's not how it works because it summons. It's like, yeah, whatever. You get. What I'm trying to say. Like, it's still a bad thing for you. Sky Striker, it's fine, but sometimes it just draws like really shitty or like very suboptimal, and then you don't make like enough disruptions, and then you get OTK'd. That's not the best feeling. Gem Knight, pretty good deck. It's probably like very similar to like Orcust in terms of what it can do. Plays like an okay amount of non-engine. It can play like 16, 17, 18, 19, depending on how you build the deck, but it also plays like some bricks, like the Brilliant Fusion, sorry, Gem Knight Fusion. Yeah, the Gem Knight monster actually is not a brick anymore. That's crazy. You don't play Garnet in the deck. Exodia is garbage, like actually one of the worst decks that you can play. Evil Twin, it's just another hand trap deck. The ceiling level is like not super high, so if you have like no hand traps and you're going second, you lose 100% of the time. It's not like Loonlight where you can actually outplay your opponent and do some really cool things and then just like sneak in one Liger Dancer, break the board, OTK, even if you have like a 0-9 engine. It is technically possible. It's a little hard, but it is possible. Vanquish Soul. Yeah, that is for sure one of the best decks that you can play right now. It is absolutely correct. It's really, really, really good. And the reason why I think that Vanquish Soul is one of the best decks is because there is no silver bullet for this deck. There's no one card that wipes the floor with this deck completely. I mean, there are, like, the Eye of Truth or something, but you can still play with... Actually, you can't really do anything. You can't reveal Joe Cool, and all of your Vanquish Soul monsters are basically just, kind of useless, basically. You can still use Rock of the Vanquisher to, like, recycle back and summon from hand, but, I mean, that's it. And then you'll have to, like, make a Nightmare Phoenix or something in order to, like, destroy the Eye of Truth. But nobody plays the Eye of Truth, so, in other words, Vanquish Soul doesn't really have to worry about the cards that are good against it. Like, obviously, people can still thrust into mutually assured destruction, but it's not even that worrisome. Like, you can still play on your opponent's turn, and that's the beauty about this deck. Like, the fact that there's Holy Soup plays on turn 0, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, every single second, you always have to worry about this super annoying card. It's extremely infuriating to play against because they never die. Every time you try to kill them, they go like, nah, hold on a second, end of main phase, Holy Soup effect in hand, effect summon Raisin from the deck, and then they get like 2 pops, they get multiple searches, crazy follow-up, and you don't kill them, but then they kill you. It's beautiful, right? Yeah, okay, anyways, Heraldic Beast, I think that's just like a shit deck. I don't understand why people keep playing that, it's just not good. Fiendsmith Odeon, yeah, garbage. Just the Odeon deck overall, nah, it's just... Stop playing this deck, honestly. I mean, it's not that it's trash, it's just that it's not good. Crystron K9, I mean, yeah, of course, yeah, no, this deck is a top-tier contender, of course. Of course, what did you expect? You think this deck is gonna be, like, somewhere here? Nah, hell no, this deck is insane. Extremely good. So the thing about Crystron K9 is that it is actually the most consistent combo deck in the entire game right now, if you build it correctly. It's ultra resilient. The only real issue with this deck is that going second, your engine doesn't naturally crack boards, which is really frustrating. So if you're going up against like 6-7 disruptions with only engine cards, chances are you lose the game because there's a lot of like bad redundancy in your deck. That's a little frustrating. Whereas decks like, and I was gonna say, like, decks like Vanquish Soul, they might actually have a chance against, like, a lot of disruptions just with engine. You know, 6 engine cards, 6 different, like, Vanquish Soul cards with, like, some K9 cards. It can do some wonders, but with Crystron, honestly, I don't really think that's gonna happen too often. But it can still break some half boards. You know, it's not a completely incompetent deck. Yeah, it has, like, a lower likelihood of doing that. So just because of that, I think it's not gonna be, like, in the best deck section. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't really lose to, like, Artifact Lancia anymore. That's really cool. Like, the K9 engine is just so incredibly good into hand traps that are just not, like, you know, I mean, trap cards, obviously. So that's nice. Labyrinth deck. I think this deck is horrendous into Vanquish Soul and Malice, so it's probably gonna be a rogue deck. It can't be anything above that, but it's gonna be at the very top of Rogue at the very least. Whereas this, Raziel, Mitsurugi, whatever, just the good Raziel decks, I'm actually gonna put it at the very top of top tier contender. Not even like in the best deck section, because there's now chaotic elements that is very popular in the K9 based strategies. So it can be utilized by K9 Crystron and K9 Vanquish Soul, and obviously pure K9. And this card is not only like a Rhoda, but it's also like a change of heart. So yeah, Raziel Mitsurugi kind of just got downgraded a little bit. It's unfortunate for the deck. And also Moltres Perulia is pretty nice right now because of Vanquish Soul and stuff like that. So suffers from like the collateral damage of those cards existing in the metagame. The next deck is going to be Yummy, which I completely forgot to include here. But if people skip all the way until the end of the video and then wonder why Yummy is not in this tier list, it just proves my point that people are stupid and don't actually know how to listen. But Yummy is the second best deck, honestly. I'm gonna put it right after Malice. I mean, it's a deck that can play a ridiculous amount of hand traps and board breakers overall, and everything is like a one-card combo, but it also can utilize the one-card starters and make them synergize with each other. And I will make a video on how I believe that Yummy players are just not good at the game, and they can really improve by understanding how their own deck functions. But they keep focusing on like irrelevant stuff, and they're not really trying to like improve like very basic lines. Like for example, Obedience Schooled, nobody in the game is going for this combo correctly. It's insanity. It drives me crazy. But so yeah, again, Yummy is the second best deck, and then Dragon Tail is also like a top tier contender. I'm gonna probably put it at the very bottom. First of all, it's a new deck, so people are gonna misplay against it, which is always relevant. Every single time there's a new deck, it always has like a higher likelihood of being better because of that reason, but also because I genuinely believe it's a good deck. It can catch people off guard by playing multiple different engines in it. So you can play, you know, K9 Dragon Tail, you can play Shadal Dragon Tail, go second Dragon Tail. You know, you can turn 0 Winda your opponent. You can do some really nasty things. And I think this deck is really competent, honestly. I think it's very underrated. And it can capitalize off of people not really respecting the deck. Like, if there's no Retelling Senior side deck, which there shouldn't be, then Dragon Tail gets better. And also, if you're not playing Ash because, oh, Ash is bad against the like those engines, well, again, good thing for them because Ash is like the best hand trap against Dragon Tail. So if you're not playing Ash anymore, then this deck is thriving off of that. And if you're on like the board breaker approach, Dragon Tail is going to be the happiest deck in the universe because it quite literally does not lose to like board breakers. It really doesn't. Like, the deck actually benefits off of getting hit by Dark Ruler because now I'm not getting OTK'd and I only lose like 1 disruption on the field. It's absolutely free. Memento is like an incredibly good deck. I'm probably going to keep it there. I don't want to like I don't want to put like too many decks in these sections because I already have like 7 decks here, including Yummy, which is again the second best deck. But yeah, Memento is very high ceiling, and it can play like the K9 engine very well as well, and Fiendsmith. So, you know, it's ultra consistent, and it just always FTKs when it goes first. The only real issue with Memento is that it doesn't really play too much on an engine, so going second, you're folding very often against like the hardcore combo decks. Like K9 Crystron and K9 Vanquish Soul, if Memento goes second against them, it's a wrap, honestly. Regenesis, I think, is another rogue deck. Just, it doesn't do enough. It also, it doesn't even play like that many non-engine, and there's also no real one-card starter that is like super explosive and does a lot. And finally 10 by Dragon, which is also another rogue deck. Maybe here or something, whatever, it doesn't matter too much. But yeah, that's it for this tier list of the best decks in the format Post Justice Hunters. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know how you feel about this upcoming format in the comment section below. Do you think it's a great one? Do you think it's gonna make Yu-Gi-Oh! A better game? Again, I will be making a video on this topic really soon, so stay tuned. I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.